What's up, guys, and welcome to our review for the LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. If you haven't joined us for one of our reviews before, the way this goes is we go through a list of 5 different categories. We give them a score in each of those categories, and then our reviewer gives you his final score accompanied by the trophy of our choice based on the scores. So with that, Logan, being the lead reviewer, how do you want to play this?
I guess we'll start with visuals. Well, I guess we'll go from there. We'll basically be going down categories, talking about each one, what makes it good, bad, okay. So yeah. So let's start with visuals. How I feel about the visuals, in my opinion, about this game is it is definitely a big step up compared to the old Lego Star Wars game. And this is probably the best looking Lego Star Wars game, or not just Lego Star Wars game, but Lego game to ever come out, other than I guess the Journey game that came out recently, the Lego Journey thing. But it is still insanely beautiful, the game, and it looks fantastic, and it is the best Lego licensed game ever to release, in my opinion. I would say probably the only issues I really had when it comes to the visual representation of this game is its bugs. Um, I've had some really bad bugs. I did play this within its first week, so I haven't played it since any of its new updates, but I'm going to be reviewing it for what it is when it released and at the time that I played it. And yeah, for a good example of a bad situation and just a horrible bug that I ran into in the game that was a bad visual bug was the fact that on a certain level in indoor, you are on a speeder, and literally I was playing that mission, which by the way, we'll talk about gameplay later, but that mission is probably the worst one in the game in my opinion. But it keeps going if you don't hit the people in front of you, and it got to the point that it was so long the mission that it stopped loading the level. It straight up just like it like almost wasn't loading fast enough. So it would just have my speeder bike fly off the map, and then it would just spawn death, spawn death, spawn death, spawn death, and I'd be losing all my coins for like a super long time. And that's probably the worst offender of the whole game in my opinion. That's the only one that really was probably the worst part of the visuals, in my opinion. Like I think, and that was mostly a bug and a gameplay thing, I would say, but still, it's technically visual because the entire map, entire level, disappears. So that's pretty frustrating. I know I'm the lead reviewer, but what's your thoughts, Mike?
Well, to go off your Endor thing, I didn't have anything like that. I have zero clue about what you're talking about with the Endor mission because I played it and I beat it. Nothing weird happened. So, but yeah, I mean, I generally agree. It's a good looking game. There's nothing real like I don't know. There's nothing really. There's no real praise to be put towards it, in my opinion. Like, there's nothing praiseworthy about the visuals other than the fact that they're just good. Like, they're better than what came before. That's to be expected. We all knew it was going to be an updated engine or anything like that. But I don't think it does anything special or praiseworthy in particular. You know,
I would
with.
say the thing that I would praise for it is, yeah, altogether the game looks, like it looks up the standards of what today is. It's not like above and beyond, but they did put a lot of detail into small things that are really great to see. Like for example, if you use any Lego character in the game and you're walking around in different biomes, you start to build up dirt or sand or snow on your character when you're walking around, which is really cool to see. And also, I felt like the amount of detail they put into each character is fantastic. and you could even see the seams in their characters, like as if they're they're the legit Lego things that you'd buy from the store, and you'll see the little logos too printed on, just like how you when you went to the Lego store and you grabbed any of the toys. It's super cool to see that those small details, and I think they're really good. And I personally really like how they did some of the cutscenes too, where they did it in that kind of it's like that weird like 24 FPS style where literally it's all like choppy looking in a sense, but it's like it's almost like an animated uh I guess like it kind of reminds me of claymation, but obviously it's Legos, or it's those stop motion fan things that you see on YouTube, or if you've just seen the Lego movies in general, like Lego Batman, they do it in a lower FPS style, but it looks like it's like really cool animation and stuff. And I really like that. And I like how they used a lot of actual Lego pieces in a lot of environments. Yes, some of them clearly are not Legos, but like when you're in the ships and stuff, or you're in a lot of interior locations, they use just Lego bricks everywhere. And it is super cool. And I love the little details in that. That's where I gotta praise him. I think the visuals are really good. Obviously, I'm not here to compare it to other games. I'm just taking it for what it is. And the only games I will compare it to is its own franchise, which is the Lego games, which it is a way higher step up compared to the other Lego games. This is again the best Lego licensed video game to ever come out, in my opinion. It looks really good. But yeah, if you have any other thoughts, I guess I could say what I put my score for the visuals.
No, well, I mean, you don't have to say the individual categories. We'll post all that with the document below. Just at the end of this, just give them your final score. But I will say one thing that quote unquote praise is, um, I do like the overall world design of it. In particular, I like the island of Akchu from the sequel trilogy. I actually really enjoyed exploring that and seeing probably what we should have seen in the movie, but we didn't get to see it in the movie. But I enjoyed walking around, um, talking to the different people there, and just looking at the different things that the island has. I don't want to get too far into the gameplay side of it, but like that is one thing that I remember, walking up the stairs, and I was like, man, this looks really, really good. So, but yeah, you're clearly more high on it than I am. I think it is. The visuals are what they're supposed to be. It looks like it's supposed to be, in my opinion.
I will agree with you too on that, like your point. I just love how like much detail they put into even some of the worlds that were not even touched on at all in the movies. Like it's pretty cool to explore and see more details, and I'm kind of curious where they got some of those details from. Even if it's their own thing, it's still really cool to see, and it's just really cool to see that they were like it's almost like I mean, obviously, I think a lot of them are fans of Star Wars, so it was just cool to see the amount of detail they put in certain worlds and stuff. I mean, some of the worlds we've clearly seen, we know what they look like, we've seen them in other games, but some of them we've not, and I really like that. I like that they actually put the effort in to even design some worlds that weren't really touched on at all in the movies. So,
Yeah, I
or well,
mean,
were touched on but barely touched on. Like you don't actually see some of the stuff you see in this game.
well, yeah,
So.
obviously, yeah, because you get to explore the worlds like the Resistance base from the sequel. I guess a lot of what praise I have to come from is what they did with the sequel trilogy. They made
Oh yeah.
the worlds that you visit in the sequel trilogy way more interesting. Not because the worlds themselves are interesting or anything like that, just because the movies were so terrible and so bad that I didn't care about anything going on in it. So I will say that they did help with that. So, but that's all I have on visuals. It says I'm pretty lukewarm on the visuals. It said, they are, in my opinion, what they're supposed to be. But there were some times that I found myself, looking like, oh, that looks cool or whatever. But I was never really stop the camera, look around the world, and really appreciate the visual design of the game. So that's one thing I just thought was lacking is a real punch to the face in the visuals.
That's fair. All right. Well, let's. I guess we can move on to the next thing. sound. Um, well, I
It's
mean, this could
perfect.
be
I
very
mean,
shortcut.
I
I
mean, yeah,
think
it's
it's
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, they nailed
There's
it. Sounds just like the movies. Really good. I mean, it's just like how playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 was for me. It just they nailed the audio. Like it's great. The music's great. The just the sound effects with like the blasters and the lightsabers clashing against each other, and just hearing like the robot I can't think of the B1 droids and all that, like squeal when you're fighting them, or the stormtroopers when you're hitting them, actually like hearing the sound effects and everything, and the sound of like bricks breaking and stuff. I think it's really good. And I mean, there's not really a lot to say about it. I think they nailed it. I didn't really have any problems whatsoever in the game with audio. I think it sounded amazing all the way through.
now, um, outside of just the sound and the score and all that, which I think is, again, they nailed it. It's pretty hard to not nail. Like you have uh you have sources. You have umpteen million sources of what these things sound like. Now, I wanted to ask you what you thought of the voice acting performances, because none of them are the same ones from the movie, except I think there might be one or two in there, but none of the main people are the same. Um, and in my opinion, you could tell that they weren't the same people who originally did the voices, but not really to a huge detriment to the characters because of the style of the Lego games. It's very different, obviously, than the style of the movies, and I think that the voice actors did a good job of lending that sense of not childness to it, but that lightheartedness that the Lego games have, and they did a good job of lending their voice talent like that to the overall style of the Lego world. What do you think?
I thought most of them were really good, and especially some of them I especially love because some of them were from the Clone Wars series. So like Obi-Wan and Anakin were the Obi-Wan and Anakin from the Clone Wars series, and I really liked them in the Clone Wars series. So I thought they sounded perfect. Um, and then obviously, I think the only person I knew for a fact was the same person from the movies was what's his name, Lando. He was literally the same voice actor from the movies. I know he was one of them. Um, I think the only person I felt was the most lacking, and I don't think this is that big of a deal. This is more of a nitpick, in my opinion. Is Han Solo? I thought he sounded really weird. He didn't really sound quite as close as you would hope to be a Han Solo, but I feel like everyone else did a really good job. But yeah, Han Solo was probably the only one I really noticed that really bothered me. That was pretty much it. And then if you really don't like it, you could always, which I do love that they added this back to Lego games because they haven't done it in years, is the mumble mode. So if you really don't like the voice acting, which I liked it. I liked it because it was actually done by actual voice actors. It wasn't just audio ripped from the movies like they've been doing.
Yeah.
So this is great to see that they actually hired voice actors to actually voice act in the game, which makes a world of difference compared to the other games. And again, if you don't like it, there's mumble mode from the start, and it's just like the old Lego games, the Lego Star Wars games, and people like just doing that. So again, I don't think any of them were really that bad. I mean, other than Han Solo, but everyone else I felt like was really good and really close, pretty close, I would say, to the actual actors. So I didn't have a problem with it, but I liked it though. I liked that there was actual legit voice actors now
Why?
doing the roles of the characters,
I didn't say
and
that.
adding new dialogue that originally wasn't in the movies whatsoever. Like some stuff was added dialogue, which makes it even better. So
Well, there was a lot, honestly, that was added
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's a very condensed retelling of the saga. Like
yeah,
they have to fit the whole story of the saga in a very condensed way. But they added a lot of personality between the characters, especially when you have like different combination of party characters. When you're walking around the world, like they will react to each other well, not differently. They would they react to each other in the same mannerisms that like their characters reacted to each other in the movie if you put them in the same party. The perfect example is whenever you have Finn and Han in the same party together, whenever you like switch to Finn or you add Finn in, they have a line where Finn like gets really excited. He said Solo, and then Solo goes, "What'd you say? Big time. What's up?" Like his name in Episode 7 for Finn, and that plays every single time that you bring you bring one of those characters into the same party together. And there's a lot like that. I haven't experimented
Yeah.
with
The
all of them.
other the other group I've noticed that with is when me and my wife were playing. We played. She loves General Grievous, so I switched to Obi-Wan, and they do the great quote from the movie where he'll say "Hello there," and he's like General Kenobi, and he does that, and I really love that. And they do some dialogue back and forth, and then if you also match Grievous with some other more interesting lightsaber people, he'll also be like, "Oh, nice lightsaber. I would like to add that to my collection or whatever." Like I love that stuff. That's super cool that they like there's a lot of those out there. Like there's a whole video on people mix matching people together and saying like awesome funny quotes, and it's really cool. I didn't watch all of them because I wanted to do it myself, which I haven't done yet. But it's cool. I like that little detail.
Well, this
Again, another small detail they didn't really have to add, but it's cool to see.
well, see, I don't know if it's one of those things that I would say they didn't have to add. Like people who really play Lego games and really play Star Wars and care about Star Wars, like that stuff's kind of important to us. Like I guess to be fair to your point, if they didn't have it in there, would I notice? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I'm used to Lego games where, there is interaction between the characters, so I would probably notice. But would your average viewer, listener, or player out there notice? Probably not. So I guess to be fair to your point, yes. To the average person who doesn't play video games for 5 hours a day, like you and like yourself and me do. Oh my God, English. For you and myself do. Um, yeah, so I guess that is something that they didn't have to add because these games are made for the mass populace. They're not really made for the hardcore like you and me. We just happen to enjoy them.
And what I'm trying to get at is basically I'm just saying it's just great small detail.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that obviously you would hope if they're putting a bunch of money in the game they would add, as much detail as possible into a game, but it's still just a fun little detail that honestly if they didn't add again it wouldn't have really changed anything. And I don't think it really like gives it bonus points. I just like it and I think it's a good detail and it just shows that they put a lot of effort into this game. So so I think the last thing I would want to go over with comedy, or
with
comedy,
comedy.
with the sounds is comedy. Actually, that's what
Well, I
I was
think
gonna
the
say.
comedy
I
is a
think the
part of the
comedy
narrative.
was
I
well,
think.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know if we were going to sound or that. I guess we can go narrative. We'll wait till narrative to talk about
Yeah, yeah,
comedy.
because the comedy and all that is a part of the storytelling. So let's go to
Oh,
gameplay. Let's just break down
yeah.
the overall opinions of the gameplay in this game from every corner
I
and every facet.
Okay. So I think we should break this into three, well, some pieces at least. I'll
Yeah,
start with
absolutely. Yeah.
combat. Let's start with that. That probably be, I think that's the biggest difference in this game
Is it though?
with how they did. I think it is.
Is it
The
though?
combat's. Have you played other Lego games?
Yes.
It's a huge
It's yeah,
difference.
it's all boring.
Huge. Yeah, but this is still like
It's
more.
less boring. You're right. It is less boring, but
I
it's
don't think it's
still
boring. I think it's this is probably the most interactive Lego game to date when it comes to like for first thing, like you can aim your lightsaber, you can pick up objects and aim it and move it anywhere you want. Lightsaber combat now has actual like combos and stuff, and then like there's cool force abilities, and then if you use like the villains, you can use the chokehold or do this huge massive like force push. And I don't know, I feel like this is probably the most interactive and like actual like good combat, like enjoyable combat. Now, is this game difficult? No, it's not difficult at all, and you can make it stupid easy because and honestly, I don't the upgrades can make the game really easy, which I personally and I don't think any I'm not like a gatekeeper. I'm not trying to be like, a From Software bad community person where they're like you have to play a game a certain way. I'm just saying, like, I personally just didn't add some of the upgrades to my characters because I felt like it was making it way too easy. Like, you don't need uh three armor things for your character because you won't die that much. I don't even think a kid could die that much in this game. Um, but I think the combat is just way better. Now, does it have its faults? Yeah. I mean, for first thing, I think probably the biggest and best upgrade is with lightsabers and lightsaber combat. I think those they pretty much nailed. I think 90% of the time, I think it's really really good. Now, blaster combat, I do have somewhat of a problem with. Um, I don't know why they added the cover system.
It's
I
fucking
I
pointless.
I like that they did that as a detail, but like you don't really get hit that much, and it's not like Gears of War where they're like constantly on you that you have to be behind cover. It's very it's a cool thing to see, but it's useless because like you don't really need it. Like I barely use cover in the entire game, and I'm not going to complain for the people. There are probably some people that play this game that are very 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 casual gamers, and I'm not judging. And maybe they need that cover. Maybe they struggle. That's
Mm,
fine.
mm,
Good
mm,
addition,
mm.
but I
My
personally think it doesn't add anything. It
mm,
it, it honestly is kind of useless and it's just an obstacle in my way.
See, my
I
biggest
do
problem
like that.
is you
Yep.
don't need it though, because you literally can't die. You just respawn it automatically.
Well,
There's
yeah.
there's no punishment. And actually in the boss battles, I don't know if you paid attention, I actually started noticing this and then I tested it. You actually can't even die at all. You can get hit as many times and your character's health will just keep recharging every single time it goes to zero. Like you legitimately
Really, because
cannot die.
I've died before, and
Like
actually
in
like in a
like
boss battle.
oh
Like, what do you mean by die? Like, it's the normal as any other like game. Like
yeah.
you
No.
pop into pieces, you drop some coins, and then you come back. But I mean, that kind of disappears after you get the magnet thing that literally pulls all the coins right back, so you don't really lose those
Oh.
coins.
Well, maybe my entire game was glitched because yeah, in episode 5, the Vader boss fight, I wanted to test it, so I just stood there, and every single time my health went to zero, it just immediately recharged to full.
That's
Never
interesting. Yeah.
never died once.
I
And
wonder if
then
you have a certain upgrade on or anything.
maybe
Like,
because I didn't turn any. The only upgrade I turned off was um the one that shows you where everything is because it made the HUD stupid ugly. But
because there's some health ones that like help increase your health regeneration and all that, and that may be what you're going through. That's why I turned off all those because I like the basic health where you start at the beginning, where I guess I mean it's as difficult as it could be. Um, I wish that is one thing again I wish that this game did is maybe add it's kind of funny. This is like the opposite of like a From Software game. They need to add a difficulty thing to make the game harder. Cuz like um I just it is still easy and it is what it is, game if you're expecting a hard game like especially when it comes to gameplay wise, it's never going to be that. It's always meant for family, people like people that just want to play together and then just experience a game. It's a kid's game in a sense. I obviously like it, and I'm not a kid, but I'm just saying that is what it's meant for. It's a big audience is kids and people that like Star Wars. Um, but I still like it for what it was. I think the new combat feels more interactive, is what I would say. Not very deep, but is way more deep than it has been since like a long time now. I don't think they've ever upgraded the combat system, and not even in the villains game that came out recently. I don't even think that game got as deep as this did. So this is probably the most deep it's ever gotten. It still doesn't mean it's a really hard game, but I do like it because I feel more interactive and I could do fun combos and stuff. But I never felt like it was really hard. I didn't really struggle, but again, it was a fun game for. I mean, it's just a Lego game, so if you expect difficulty, then you're gonna be disappointed. But if
yeah,
you're
no.
expecting to just play a Lego Star Wars experience and just have fun with it and just know it's an interactive experience, and if you don't like it, like if you get bored because it's too easy, then that's fair. If you don't like that stuff, I just like it because it's Star Wars, and I find that the interactivity and the fun little things you could do in it, and all the characters you could play as, is fun. So, and I think the combat is better than it has been. So, and
Yeah.
I'll give it that. It is definitely a huge upgrade when it comes to combat, but it doesn't mean it's a huge upgrade in difficulty. The difficulty has not changed. It is still a very easy game. So,
Yeah, I will say I guess one of the things that I kept wanting is you you're talking about interactivity, and I kept thinking to myself the whole time. I'm like, this needs some interactivity. I need the enemies to respond to me in some way, some shape or form, to make it seem like I'm actually interacting. Like especially in lightsaber battles, I think there's no actual interaction between you and the boss. Like any lightsaber lockup or anything like that is always canned. There's always specific moments. It's never fluid in its gameplay of when you can lock in on a lightsaber or anything like that, or the lightsabers hit each other or something like that. It's all just canned moments of when you actually get that quick time button to hit the buttons or to jam the triangle button or whatever. It's all canned moments. There's no, in my opinion, there's no fluidness to the boss battle system. So which it could have been. Like I don't even care if the game's hard, but I mean, maybe something that if I mean, shit, it was in Fallen Order. Like if you would swing and attack at yeah an enemy the same time that they would swing and attack, it would actually lock into a little like lightsaber lock, and it would be fluid in that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm coming off of Fallen Order, which has way better combat,
well,
but that's also
well,
not
yeah,
fair. It's
that's like a
fair,
whole different game.
but it's I don't know. I guess it's just Lego games, man. Maybe I'm just not a big fan of them. I like them, but I just I always just I'm sitting there playing and I'm like, ugh. I want more. I don't know what. I can't tell you what I want from them. I just want more. I will
That's
say,
fair.
in terms of gameplay, though, we talked about this earlier. I hate co-op in this game. I hate it
I think
so
you're the only one
much.
that I personally did not have a problem. Which I guess we can mix this conversation, but
Well, I mean, co-op is a part of the gameplay.
obviously another big difference with this game compared to any other Lego game is the new camera now,
Yes,
which I both have love and hate for this too.
I
I like it because it's more, you're more closer up to your character. They basically pulled what God of War did, where they literally took it from the up top view and put it to a shoulder view. Uh, and I like the shoulder view about 80% of the time throughout the game. I like it. And then there's that 20% of the time where it starts to, I guess this is, since it's their first time trying this out, it's still kind of frustrating because like there'll be times where the camera gets hanged up on something or it's not moving where you need it properly. Like especially one problem that I noticed with boss battles is that you can't unlock from bosses. You literally are stuck looking at them the entire time.
yeah,
You
which
can't look
sucks
around
when you're
to
trying to
go
find the
pick up
mini
an object
kits.
and throw it at them.
What
Yeah,
sucks when
like
you're
you
trying to
should.
like find the mini kits and everything that are in this game, and they're scattered around the boss arenas, and you as you said, you can't. Well, in certain situations, the game delocks for you, but once the game is locked, you can't do anything about it. You're right.
Yeah, which is kind of frustrating. And again, like the first few like hours I played, I didn't have a problem with it, but then I just started to notice those quirks with the new camera, and I didn't have a problem with co-op as much as you did. I felt like it was fine, and I'm pretty sure I have a smaller TV than you do. I didn't have a problem with it. I felt like it was fine. Which I guess since we're in gameplay, uh, and I know it didn't. I mean, I don't know how much you played co-op, but me, I had a. Well, I guess this is even more bug issues because I'm not gonna lie, this game it's not super buggy, but it's definitely had its few very frustrating bugs. Uh, One that I ran into a lot was, and it's actually it made my game crash like 6 times. Uh, Me and my wife were playing together, and it would only happen on very weird moments. Like I tried to figure out when it would happen, but the only variable that I know that is a part of it is us switching to a different character. But that's it. But it didn't happen every time. It only happened at very random moments. And it would literally just freeze up the game and then just completely kick us out of the game. And then I had to restart it again, and then it would play perfectly fine for a while, and then it'd be a while. Like it'd almost be the entire night, and then the next day we'll play it again, and then they'll do the same thing. One of us will switch to a character, and it'll freeze up, and they kick me out of the game. And it did that like at least 6 or 7 times, and it was pretty frustrating because like we would get a certain part into the level, and then it would just do that, and I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, sweet. That's the biggest issue I had with co-op. That was extremely annoying. But go on what you're saying. I didn't mean to
I
cut
was
you
just no, I
off.
was just saying it's just like I just think see, I actually really enjoy the new camera system. Third person action adventure, open world games. It's literally my cup of tea. It's what I play 90% of the time if I'm playing video games. It's those types of games. So I never really had a problem. I did notice sometimes where the camera would glitch on things or hiccup on things. That does it in the greatest games ever made too. So I mean, God of War, every once in a while the camera will catch on a wall if you're standing right up close to it. So I guess I'm more forgiving of those things. But in my personal opinion, the new updated camera system destroys the co-op experience of this game. In my personal opinion, because of not only is the camera closer, when you go into co op, it even gets closer. And then when you go to aim your weapon, it doesn't know what to do because you're just looking at the back of your character's head and like you can't actually see your gun or anything like that. It doesn't actually zoom in properly. At least from what we have played, Peyton and myself played probably about 5 hours of co-op because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't play this game. I was just getting pissed because I just couldn't see anything and I couldn't see the world and I couldn't explore it in the way that I wanted to because of the new design. And I missed the design of old in a way with the co-op where it was just one screen and then if you ventured off on your own, then it would cut the screen in half. And obviously you can't do that with the new modern camera positioning, but I don't think it was a glitch. I've heard other people complain that the new camera is not good for co-op, but that's just again my own opinion. Is I could not play this game in co-op. It drove me up a wall. I couldn't shoot a gun. Lightsaber combat was fine in co-op because it doesn't require the camera to zoom in any way, but whenever I had a blaster or anything like that, whenever I tried to shoot a gun, both of us, it just the camera would absolutely lose its shit, and we would be staring into the the head of our character and nothing else, and the camera would like actually start glitching because it couldn't figure out a way to do it.
No,
So,
I agree with that. I've had a few moments of that. So it isn't just you
and I
that's
just, man,
happened.
I
Like
just couldn't
that's
do it.
again, that's why I'm saying like I like the camera system about 80% of the time. That 20% of the time that stuff happens and it's extremely frustrating because it's like you're trying to shoot something or you're trying to collect something and then it just zooms into your back of your head and it's like dude, like that's why the blaster combat is very hit or miss for me because like I like it, but the blaster is by far the worst because like it just has that problem where literally it zooms into the wrong area or it just doesn't want to work for you.
Or like
It's
when
just
you're
weird.
doing a puzzle and you hit the aim button and then it auto locks onto something behind you. Oh my god,
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
so frustrating. It's so annoying because like these puzzles are timed. I only have a certain amount of time, and I'm sitting there, and every single time I pull the trigger, it tries to lock onto the one that I've already shot, and I'm like, "Fuck off! I don't want to shoot that one." Stupid game. This game's made for kids, and it's freaking frustrating as hell to play as an adult. Uh,
So I
moving on
guess
though, let's go
oh,
to
I was gonna say the
Oh,
next thing is flight combat, right? Or is that where you're going?
I was gonna
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the next combat
We
thing
can
to
go to that.
talk about.
I was gonna go to like open world design and everything like that, but we can go to flight combat.
Yeah, you might as
Yeah,
well stick and get that done over with.
I mean
So
flight combat's gonna be short for me. Like I don't have a single problem
yeah,
with it. Like it's good. It's not.
flight combat's all right.
Yeah,
It's all right.
it's
I would
fine.
say it's very frustrating some of the times Actually, that's probably the one upgrade I focused on most was how annoying sometimes you would be blasting a ship for like 5 ever and it just wouldn't blow up. So I upgraded it to where those blasters would actually be stronger. Because I that's probably the worst offender of this game is those flying sections in this game, like the Coruscant chasing a bounty hunter. That freaking level sucked. Again,
Okay,
I don't
well
know if I
that's
just had a bad glitch or something like that, but that and the indoor level, I struggled so hard because I would be blasting this freaking person for like 5 minutes and the health barely went down. I'm like, man, am I playing Elden Ring right now? Like, what is going on? Like,
but
this
okay.
ship will not blow up.
I classify those very differently. Those there's only like two or three where I would call them chase missions, and the actual flying missions are very different. Like the Endor mission and the Coruscant mission, and then I believe there's one with the No, I don't know. Maybe there's only two of those chase missions, but those I classify very differently than like the actual flight
Oh,
combat
I
missions.
know. But it also was dumb that they didn't put a crosshair. Well, they put a crosshair on the Coruscant one, but the indoor one, the biggest vendor, in my opinion, at that level, especially, no crosshair to even aim at these things. Like
Oh yeah,
I
your
would be
entire
holding
mission
down
was
the straight.
glitched because I had a crosshair.
Yeah, mine had no crosshair. I would be holding the button down, and it would just not be hitting them. Like I had to basically guess where. So if that is true, then mine was completely glitched
Yeah,
because yeah, it
your
both
entire mission was
times.
glitched because everything that you said, I was like, I don't really have anything against that, you know?
Man, I just must have been really unlucky. But yeah, it happened. I it glitched out so badly I had to restart the mission. I finally did. It still wasn't loading completely, and I never had a crosshair the entire time. So
Jeez.
I mean I don't know what was. It was annoying. The Coruscant level I did have a crosshair though, but still my shots were missing like half the time, and when I hit them, it was like barely taking down the health, and I'm like, what is going on? So, yeah, I mean, but the actual flight combat, the combat that you can actually control your ships and everything, it's okay. I do think the whole system with like how you dodge things is really annoying. It doesn't really work that well most of the time, but sometimes it does, and sometimes it's really good. So
And
I think it's kind of like the blaster combat for me. I think the space combat is hit or miss for me. Sometimes I'm really enjoying myself and I'm doing really good, but I also think it depends on the ship because every time I used the Millennium Falcon, I was having a good time. That thing was like doing damage. It flew very well, but then it would put me into a different ship, and I felt like the space combat got worse for me. So I don't know if it's spaceship dependent. I don't know, but some of the ships I played in the game just were bad, like just not fun to use at all.
you and me
But
are
they all
just
have this
so different. I think the space combat's the best thing about this game. I love it.
really,
I love every single second of it. I didn't have a single second where I thought it was aggravating or anything. I thought the damage was proper. Yes, once you upgrade it, I mean, I was taking out ships in two shots. Like, dude,
yeah,
dead. But even in the beginning, I did not have the problem. It would take me forever to deal damage. Maybe looking back on it now, if I remember, I did get both of those upgrades very early. The ship combat, and then I went straight for blaster and lightsaber. Those were like the first couple ones that I focused on getting because I just wanted to rip through things. So maybe it was my fault that I was complaining about the combat.
yeah, because I don't think I had that now. They probably wouldn't be so bad. I mean, I would hope Endor is fixed by now, which I would like to go back and play through the whole game again. Which I'll have a topic to bring back at the end, which does frustrate me, but it doesn't deal with gameplay right now. So I
Yeah.
guess yeah. I mean that's my final thoughts on Flight. So I'm ready to move to the open world. If you are,
Well, I mean, I just think in my personal opinion, I loved the flight combat. I was I was doing fun stuff with it, man. When I was in the Jakku fight, man, I was like tipping the ship over and doing like dives and swoops. I was just trying to be like an acrobat with it. I was having a good time. I spent some time wrapping my mind around, how that ship actually turns because if you rotate the ship axes, it actually turns at a tighter angle, so you can do actually much more interesting like maneuvering when in flight. So like I spent quite a bit of time like actually practicing being able to like control the pitch and everything properly, other than just turning regularly left and right without actually using the right stick to control the pitch in any way. So yeah, man, I was having a great time. I would do barrel rolls as I was turning and like shooting, and then obviously there's a barrel roll button and there's a 360 button where you can flip completely over things. And man, I was having a great time with it. So yeah, I very much disagree with your opinion there. Is I spent a lot of time in space doing those battles, and especially when you got into the actual missions like that Jakku mission and then the bombing run on Starkiller Base. That mission was super fun. I had a good time just like flipping around and trying to take out the towers from interesting angles and just trying to do cool X-wing pilot stuff. In my opinion, like I was trying to actually be like a Poe Dameron fighter pilot that could like maneuver a ship in like crazy ways and do all kinds of flips and everything like that. And I got pretty good at it, I do say myself. So, but yes, we can move on to open world design. Let's throw some quest design in there. Just pretty much moment to moment gameplay, what you're doing outside of the story.
Um, let's see. So I didn't completely hate space combat. I've never really been a big flying person.
I
And
love
I know
flying.
that we already moved away from it, but
Sorry.
this is gonna connect with the open world thing. I do actually really like when doing the space battles out in the space, like getting into the battles, and then finally after like I think it was 2 podcasts ago, we talked about us not running into those capital ships. I finally ran into one not long ago. It was like at least 2 weeks ago or something like that. We talked about it a little bit. And that was really cool. Actually had a lot of fun with that, especially even the interior part was pretty cool. I've never done any of the other ones yet. I've only done one because I finally figured out how to do it. But I played that one. It was the droid capital ship. I did that one, and it was really fun. I didn't have enough coins to buy it, but I definitely want to go back and play and actually beat more of those capital ships now after doing that because it was really cool. That's one side activity I really like. Um, I guess I guess we'll stick with space for right now because there's a lot of deep stuff to talk about planets. So what do you? And I guess also it's fun sometimes chasing down that stupid bounty hunter dude that always says you can't get him, and then you get him in like 2 seconds. That's kind of fun, and then getting the quests out there. What about you? What do you think? Just to stick with space for right now.
Oh yeah, I mean space is. I grouped my opinion with space in with like the actual mission flights things. I,
Oh,
yeah, I think it's both fine. Yeah, I still 40. I think 42 hours. I checked my time before we came in here. I think 42 hours. Have not run into a capital ship yet. And
huh. Yeah,
I spend a decent amount of time in space. Like I do 2, 3, even 4 of those those space battles sometimes back to back. The moment I fly into anything, never ran into
that's
one.
crazy. That's really crazy. Yeah, I think I found mine by Naboo, I think. Like I literally just kept fighting in those battles up in space, and then it randomly just went to a cutscene and showed the capital ship pop up, which really surprised me because I was like, oh, it was that easy. I was like, okay. But yeah, so yeah, that's space. So for the deeper topic of open world, let's get to the actual world stuff to do. So I really like the exploration of some of these planets, and I especially like some of the side quests. Some of the side quests is what really kept me on exploring some of these worlds, which I'll get to in a second on the reason why I'm saying that. I really like doing the side quests; they're really cool. Some of them are really fun. Again, I like combat, so when I can fight things, I really enjoy it. Especially when I unlock characters that can fight, I want to do stuff like that. I like that, and then I especially like doing some of the puzzles, and hearing some more funny lores or some lore and some jokes about the lore throughout the worlds. I think it's really funny, especially finding like the wandering Wookiees, the wandering Wookiee that is in like all the worlds and everything. That's cool to find, and I like getting the Kyber bricks because some of them are really cool, and it's fun to try out different things. Like some things, I'm pretty sure the game you technically they weren't wanting you to do. I still did to get some puzzles done, like picking up droids and putting them in certain areas, switching to a character, picking up you
Oh,
as a droid up
I
to the thing. I did
yeah,
that a
I
few
would
times.
I
It's
would do
fun.
that
Like
all the
I like that.
time. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
if the game is like, hey, you gotta like stack all these boxes, I'm like, no, I'm just gonna pick up my droid and then like switch to him super quickly as he's falling to get the brick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. I like
I
that.
did
And
that
it's
all the
fun
time,
doing those
100% of the
little.
time.
Now, I'm also going to get to my negative. My negative is that there's nothing really to the open worlds after the fact that you really start to understand after playing for a couple hours that it's just a collectathon. There's sometimes you get those side quests that are really good and really fun, and there are a few that make you go jump around to different planets to figure out the story and end it. And it's not super deep stories. I think probably the coolest one I ran into, and I won't ruin it if you haven't played it yet, Mike, but there's one called you meet Yaddle on at Coruscant, and you do that mission, that side quest, and that's probably the best side quest I did out of all of them so far. Where you fight a monster at the end, you get like a cool extra boss fight, and that was really cool. I mean, that's probably the most deep of all of them, other than the one that you also jump around planets trying to find who stole, I think, a key from Coruscant. That one was also pretty cool. But after you do that and you start to explore these worlds, because I mean, you want to explore them, you want to do things and side quests. But like, I think my biggest disappointment was when you get to the Coruscant uh, below city, and there's not really almost anything to do. Like, it's cool to explore for a little bit and see, but there's not as much side quests as I was hoping to see down there. And then two, there's like, and this connects with all the worlds in the game. Where are the enemies? Like, you made a new combat system for this game, and there is nothing to fight in the open worlds. Maybe randomly you run into this small group and you get like a solid 2 seconds of satisfaction because you got to kill them, and then it's done. You'll never find any other enemies in the map because you've defeated all of them. That's it. Yeah, I mean, and you get to collect all these bricks. And again, I like collecting the bricks, but at a certain point, I started to get really bored of just collecting bricks. Like, I get it. I want the bricks to upgrade my characters, but in my opinion, I don't really like some of the upgrades because they make the game even easier than it already is. Like, I don't need the game to be easier than it already is. So I stopped caring about the bricks at a certain point because some of them are just like I've already got most of the upgrades I really wanted. I didn't get max out some things. Like, I wanted to upgrade the robots a little bit, but I didn't really mess with the droids yet. But like, I wish there was more things to fight. Like, you go to space and in 2 seconds you can find a battle up there. You go to an open world and there's nothing to see. And like, for a good example, in episode 4, after you get to the intro, the first mission, you get to the part where, in the movies where Obi-Wan and Luke go to Tatooine and try to find, Han Solo, or, a ship captain to get them, and in that area, and you didn't run into this, but I did. There were like stormtroopers, patrolling the city, and there's like, like there's I seen a bunch of them. And then when you actually get past the part, you beat that, and you go back to Tatooine, there's none. They're all gone. And I'm like, what? So you clearly already put the time in to program these people patrolling the town and everything, but then you actually go back to the town and there's nothing to fight. And it's just like, I don't know. I beat these missions to unlock characters, and these characters I've always wanted to play as just because I think it'd be fun, like General Grievous and etc. And then there's nothing to fight in the cities. Like, you're just a glorious key to getting another brick, and that's all you are. And it's just that's where the open world sections just really disappoint me. It's just like
But I
there's
mean,
really nothing to do other than just grab bricks, and it's super boring because it's like I don't want to just grab bricks. I want to do stuff. Like, that's why I like side quests and that, because it actually gave me something to do other than just grab bricks. So,
what you're talking about is just that's a Lego game. That's what they are.
well,
I
yeah,
mean,
but the way that
the
they explain things, that there was going to be bounty hunter missions and stuff, and also the fact that they already have that stuff programmed into the game, you would think they would have that stuff in the open world. but they don't. But I mean, they did have it in the open world, but only if you play episode 4, go through the level normally. But if you do it in the open world area, the free play thing, they're gone. No enemies on the map whatsoever. I just think it's kind of dumb. I don't know. Like you add combat system and you can't fight anything. It's nothing against collecting things. I like collecting the bricks, but if that's all you're doing in the open world sections, then it's kind of disappointing. I don't know. Like it would be cool if they added battles. You know, like in Naboo, you run into a battle and there's like a droids and there's a droid tank and stuff. Wouldn't that be fun and cool to do? I mean, I think that would be fun to do. I would like to fight those things and it would get me coins, and then it would be like, okay, I did that. Now I'll go bricks. It's just something to do other than just collect bricks, which is literally what I feel like all the open worlds are. They're just places to grab more bricks, which is just kind of disappointing. So I don't know. That's where I feel about open world thing. I just
I
think
mean,
it's okay. I enjoy some moments. Some moments are really really fun, and then other moments I'm just kind of getting bored because it's just the same thing over and over again.
yeah. I mean, my complaint is the same as yours, but that's just because that's, in my opinion, that's just what a Lego game is. Like, I know that going into it. I know I'm unlocking these characters to do nothing with. That's the same through the entire history of Lego games.
Which
Like,
I wouldn't have this much of a problem, which I guess I can explain. Well, I mean, this kind of disconnect with this now. Even the worst offender of this game, so like again, I could probably get past having enemies on the open world maps if they didn't do this too. When you beat the game, you literally cannot replay an entire episode ever again unless you start a new save file and you play them again, because you can only now play certain sections of the episodes, which that I don't have a problem with that. They should have had that in there. But also give people the option to replay entire episodes. Why, like, you unlock these free play characters. When I got these free play characters, I was actually excited to go through a second playthrough because that has been in Lego games. That has been a thing in all other Lego games. You can replay the entire game again in free play. But in this game, you can't. You can play free play, but you can only play the small sections that actually like give you certain things. So you can't actually replay the entire episode
and
ever again. It's
you
done.
you can only replay the actual missions.
Yeah.
You can't play the interjection parts of the way that the game is set up and designed.
Yeah. And
Because
that's extremely disappointing.
if those of you that are confused out there, the way the game is set up and designed is you have main missions. You have 5 main missions for each episode, per episode. And then in between those missions, they use the hub worlds and other areas to piece together the rest of the story of the saga. So, like, for example, in episode 5, like, you go to Dagobah for a mission, but when you first get there, you can explore freely, you can do whatever you want, and it's like a hub area, and then you actually start the level, what they call, not mission, sorry, the actual level. And then you play through it that way. So I call them levels, and then like the interspersing sections of the game. But I do kind of see what you're saying. It would be nice if you could go and when you select the episode, you can select use it with free play. I can understand that.
Yeah, because like especially the first episode, you start off with that ship thing, and you literally can't ever replay that again. Like that whole beginning scene in the Phantom Menace where you start off and you go to the ship, that's just gone now. You can't go back to it. It's done. Like you beat the game, can't touch any of that again. That's actually a downgrade from other Lego games, because other Lego games you straight up you get free play and you can play the entire story again in free play mode.
Well,
But in this, you can't.
I don't know if it's a downgrade per se. I think it's a factor of what this game is and the way this game is structured. It's a factor of the fact that it is this massive open world game, which we've had open world games before, but never like this before. Where the
Yeah,
where because like you got to think in terms of progression and stat tracking and all that. It's got to be fairly difficult then to have you completely restart the mission and the game still remember all the different bricks that you've gotten along the way in those hub areas outside of just the actual like open world game. So like when you restart an episode, you're asking the game to now remember what bricks you have done, what characters you have talked to, what Wookiees you found. Everything the game is offering, you're asking it to remember that while enabling you to play with any character. And for me, that just sounds like a lot of development process that just maybe they didn't have time to do, maybe they didn't want to do it, maybe they didn't think it was
But
necessary, whatever the case. It sounds like you're asking the game to do a lot.
actually, that's wrong because when you get to those open world sections, you can always switch to any character you want.
Not
That was
always.
already
Sometimes the
that
game's
for
locked.
me. Every time I got to the open world section, I was able to switch to any character I wanted. So they already have that built in. That's already in the game. It's just a matter of they were too lazy to let you replay the entire stories again. And that is a downgrade because every other Lego Star Wars game, every Lego licensed video game lets you do this. This is the only one I played that literally will not let you replay the entire episodes again in free play. And it is a big downgrade because the only parts you can replay are small sections because they took out big sections that are part of the episodes. So I don't know. I just think it's a big problem. Honestly, I think it's really dumb. I don't think they're ever going to fix it, which is kind of frustrating because I was kind of hoping to replay the entire game again, but you can't because you can only replay those small sections. Which again, I don't have a problem with the small sections. I think that's great for the people that are completionists or people that want to go back and just get the bricks. That's fine, but you should still give the player an option to replay the entire episode again in free play, in which they already do have that built in. They have that when you're in the Ozu open world sections, you could switch to any character. So they already have that. They already know it. It's just they're too lazy, or not too lazy. Sorry, that's a mean thing to say. The developers worked really hard on this game. I'm just saying it's kind of annoying that every other Lego game lets you replay entire episodes, but this one you can't, which is just sucky, in my opinion. Because I would totally go back and replay this entire game again in free play mode if I could. But after being the game and learning that you can't do that, that really kind of sucked a lot. Because I didn't know about this until I beat the game, which now makes me regret not taking even more time in those levels because I couldn't. Because now you can't. It's gone. They're just, unless you want to start a whole new game save, which sucks. So,
Well, as far as
yeah,
my
that's
knowledge, there's only one area that is you can't ever go back to. That's a part of the problem that you're talking about, because the rest of them are all
well,
just hub areas that you can
Well,
visit.
yeah, they're hub areas, but you still have like story moments happening in it,
Yeah.
and there's still people talking and things like that. So even that's still like it's something they could just easily add in. Like it wouldn't be
See,
a problem whatsoever.
I don't think it's easy at all, just by the way that this it's
But it's already
structured.
built in. Again, I've never had a single open world section or hub mission.
When you
I've
first
not
get
been able.
when you first get the Coruscant with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, you cannot change. It's locked in your character progress. When you first arrive there, when you first zone in, when you first explore the area, you can't switch to any character. It has a lock symbol next to it.
But
Like
they already have it built into the game that you can do that in certain other sections, though. So how would it be hard development when they already know how to put characters in different worlds and stuff? It wouldn't be hard to do at all. Like it's something
because
they've
you have
already
like
done.
because you have like lines of dialogue and you have like narrative things like what do
Yeah,
you,
and you could still do that in certain levels. Like for example,
well, yeah, in certain levels,
in
but in certain levels
Obi-Wan,
you can't.
I think it was Luke on Dagobah or whatever. And that thing you could change to any character, and they still were doing like you could. It would take away the dialogue, but again, if you're doing a second playthrough, you already heard the dialogue. You just want to replay the moment again. But they already did that even in the first playthrough. If you switch to a different character in that certain section, it was already an option in the game. So technically, they already have it built in. It was already there. They just don't do it for
See,
some reason.
either my memory's wrong or whatever. Because when you first get to Dagobah, I remember there were puzzles I couldn't complete because I couldn't get to the characters because your progress is locked in while you're going through the story. When you
I don't
come
know.
when you come back around the second time, then you're free to roam. Yes, But there are sections where, especially story related sections, where you cannot switch characters. It is locked into the group of either two or three or whatever characters. And
Yeah, but see,
how do you go
thinking
about
of
changing that?
See, but if you think about that, that's the same way of thinking of how did they add free play to the normal campaign in general. There's a bunch of dialogue happening in those moments. There's a bunch of specific things happening in those moments too. They already know how to do this. I mean, they've been doing it since Lego Star Wars the first game. So they know how to do it. They know how to add other characters into other moments since literally Lego Star Wars the first game. And that came out forever ago. So again, I don't think there's really a good excuse to really cover up why they don't let you replay an entire episode with any character of your choice. I mean, it's not going to break anything. They just take the dialogue out, which is what I already noticed when I played my first playthrough and I was playing as a character that wasn't the story character and they're walking around in a story moment and they just didn't put the dialogue in, which is fine with me. If it really comes to that, then I don't care. But I did just still want to replay. I mean, I could always switch back to the character and they'll do the dialogue thing again. So I don't know. I just think again, like they could have done it, they just didn't. And I hope they get enough feedback on this game. And honestly, even more than the open world things, like if they just fix that, I could care less about the open world thing. Like I would, they don't need to add combat to that. I would just want them to let you replay the entire game again in free play, which is what every other Lego game ever has done, except for this one. So that's just how I feel.
Well, I hate to be
I
the
think I'm.
bit. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're the only one that I've heard complain about it, so I don't know if that's a widespread problem that people are talking about, and therefore I don't know if it'll ever get fixed.
I'm not saying it will ever get
No,
fixed. I'm just. It
I was just
kind
letting you
of.
know.
It is in my opinion still a downgrade because like every other Lego game lets you do it. Every other Lego game. So it kind of sucks.
That's fine. Fair enough. Agree to disagree. Oh, anything else you want to talk about gameplay?
Nope. That would be it for gameplay.
Okay, well, now it's time for story slash narrative. So, being as this is a retelling of a story, most of us know pretty well. In your opinion, how good of a job do they do of retelling it?
I think they do a really good job for most of the episodes. Um, I would say some. I feel like they took a little bit too much out of. Well, not too much. Like they took out a few scenes I was kind of hoping to see. And they weren't really that crazy off. Um, like again, like the whole Order 66 thing, they kind of cut out a lot in that part, which kind of sucked. I was kind of hoping they were gonna at least show the march to the thing. I feel like that's a key moment in Star Wars 3. I was kind of hoping for that.
Yeah,
And then
we.
there's a few other episodes that I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
How
But
dare
I
us
feel like
not
that's the
get
one.
to? How dare us not get to slice up younglings in this Lego
Oh,
Star Wars
I didn't
game?
care about that. Like I knew they weren't gonna add anyways they did it in the other Star Wars games. But they
Yeah, Disney
I more
didn't.
was just like
Disney didn't
I
have
was
the rights back then.
yeah. Well, I guess it still would have just been nice if they just would have showed just the march to the thing. Like that's not going to hurt anyone to see that. I mean, if you haven't seen the movies anyways, I don't know how, but I just wish they did the march at least because I just feel like that's a key moment. I feel like they just kind of like jump over a key moment, which was Order 66, a lot. Like there's a little bit they show, but not as much as I was hoping. So that kind of sucked. And I know there's another moment I can't think off the top of my head that they also kind of skipped on. Um, but I mean, if the fact that I don't remember is that I really think they did do a pretty good job at retelling pretty much all these. I mean, I do like that in Star Wars 8 they skipped over the worst scene in the entire movie. So that makes me really happy because I didn't have to deal with the whole stupid race scene where they had to, race those stupid animals throughout the city. I'm really happy that that wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
because
Well, they still have the Canto Bite scene, but yeah, they didn't have the actual
yeah,
individuals.
they still
One
have some bad scenes, but you know.
What I want to say about the story and the narrative is, well, I agree with Logan. I think it does a perfectly fine job of retelling the story. I think it expedites the story and it shortens the story enough that you can appreciate the actual story that's told without any of the filmography aspects of these movies. And I think that works very well for one trilogy and works pretty badly for another trilogy. And the middle trilogy is just what it is. It's fine. There's nothing you could do to that middle trilogy, to that middle story that'll mess it up. I think this game and its expedient storytelling just goes to show you how much better of a story the prequels is than the sequels. Just from a pure point by point document what happens. Not from an actual, not accounting for the movies and everything else that's outside of it, just the actual narrative story of the saga. I think it heightens the prequel trilogy, and it just goes to show you that the sequel trilogy makes no effing sense.
Yeah, I agree with that
Like
actually.
when you
Seven was really good,
when you're
but yeah,
just
the
given,
rest.
well, I'm just talking about story and narrative, obviously. When you're just given the bullet points of what happens, you can kind of realize and appreciate everything that the prequel trilogy was attempting to do and everything that it achieved in doing in terms of just narrative. And you can realize that the sequel trilogy is kind of all over the place. Now, saying that, I do think. Oh, sorry, I laughed because what I'm about to say makes it funny in my head. I do think this game is the single best way to experience a sequel trilogy story.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that is one of the saddest statements I've ever made in my entire life of being a Star Wars fan. Is I think this Lego Star Wars game is the best way to experience the Disney trilogy in terms of story if you want to know what happens. Take of that what you will. I think that's a huge positive for this game. I don't think it's a
I
really big
actually agree
positive for
with
the
that.
movies. So,
They actually like enjoyed the last two episodes a lot because like they skipped over a lot of the not so important things and stuck to the most important parts and just kept going with
I mean,
it.
I still think
And
it's dumb and it makes no sense, and there's
oh yeah, I
no
mean I don't like the
logical
I mean
flow between the stories that are being told. But it does make it more understandable about what was said. That's what I was trying to get at. Sorry.
actually you know what's really cool too was actually being able to explore Exegol. Like that was pretty intense going down there and actually looking at it. Did you ever explore that world?
A
Because
little
it's
bit,
actually
yeah.
really cool.
I
Like
was
I was like, wow,
I was at the point in time where I just kind of wanted to be done. I was
that's fair.
Yeah, but by the time I got to episode 9, I'm like, man, I'm 40 hours in the Star Wars game. This Lego game. I just kind of wanted it to be done, get it over with, so I can say I finished it. Because my original plan was I'm definitely gonna platinum this game. That's what I said walking into it, and that's a task all of to itself. That's a
Yeah,
bigger task
that's
than
I
ever
bet.
before in a Lego game. Platinum this game is a task that will approximately take 100 plus hours, which is crazy. Good, but crazy. I didn't really say too much about the when we were talking about gameplay. I think the side quests are fine, like you said. A lot of them of uh just kind of like whatever. But there are a couple that are really good. Just want to throw my opinion in there real quick. All right,
Yeah,
moving on.
you know about you did play the Yaddle mission, right?
Yeah, I played the Yaddle
Oh, that one was so good.
and the
That was probably the best
and
one.
the really cool one that has you go to Tatooine and doing that one cool thing.
Oh, I don't know if I've done that one.
Yes, you
I'll
have.
have to see.
We've talked about it. It starts with a D.
Oh, we have.
You fight a
Uh,
thing that starts with the D.
oh, yeah, that's Yaddle though.
Was it Yaddle?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Yaddle mission.
I thought
Yeah, that
no.
mission.
Oh, I was confusing the Yaddle with the one where you jump around to the different planets and find those people. The one that you
Oh,
get
that one's a
from
core. The other Coruscant mission.
yeah, the one that you find in the Jedi Temple.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah,
misconstrued it, those two.
yeah. Both those are really good. And it's
Yeah,
pretty funny because they both come from the same place.
if there were
But yeah,
more, if there were, sorry, we're getting sidetracked from the story narrative. I forgot to mention this in the gameplay sequence, but if there were more quests like that, If out of the 740 something side quests that are in this game, which is a stupid number, by the way, if more of the percentages were like, it actually gave you some kind of story significance or just some small little narrative path to take, like go to this planet, talk to this, to make you feel like you were a part of the world a little bit. I think that maybe could have actually alleviated some of your problems with not being able to replay the game, because you could play these 740 plus quests as any character you wanted. But I think the fact that of those 740 whatever, 600 of them, 680 whatever, are just, hey, go here, do this one thing, get a brick.
Yeah.
It's no different than just the regular brick getting or puzzles. It's just you got to talk to people. All right.
That's honestly, yeah, I agree. That's probably the biggest reason why I just feel the way I do about the open world section is
Yeah.
that.
All right.
But yeah.
Anything else you want to say about story and narrative? I think that pretty much covers the story and narrative. I mean, it's the Skywalker saga. You know,
Yep, and I think the comedy
the
is
first.
really good
Yeah.
too. The comedy is really, really good. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's Lego, it's kiddish, but
Yeah,
then
it's a
there's
kiddish,
sometimes
but
where it actually made me crack up. Like I was dying,
oh,
especially
in episode
episode
one,
one.
when Qui Gon
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Qui Gon lands and he hits his head in the tune of Star Wars. Oh, that's great.
Oh, that and the
Dun, dun,
Padme
dun.
scene,
The what?
the scene where they're talking about, oh, I'm queen. That like that
Oh, the
scene
running
also cracked
joke.
me up, and
The
how it kept
running,
going to.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
it was
running
really
joke
good.
of who the imposter is. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
The imposter in episode one is with Queen Padme. I guess in episode two as well. Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
funny. Then you unlock that character too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that was
was
real
a
good.
really good joke.
There
And
was a
also I liked episode 3 with Anakin drawing with crayons. Like that cracked me up too.
Honestly, I'm telling you, man, the prequels are good in this game. The prequels
Yeah,
are
like
really good. They're
really
really
good.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original trilogy is the original trilogy. You could tell they didn't want to be too funny with it. They didn't want to go like insane. They wanted to respect the source material, but they still had a lot of the prequel trilogy. However, they just went in. They were like, let's just have a lot of fun. And the sequel trilogy, there's no jokes to be had with that thing other than the fact that it exists.
I will give one thing that I thought was kind of strange, and this kind of goes back to gameplay and narrative, is I actually feel like the sequel trilogy was more implementing a lot of the newer stuff they were talking about than any of the other ones.
Oh, in terms of
Like
like gameplay and all that, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it
like
was,
there's
yeah.
that whole scene in episode 9 where like you actually could stealth all those enemies and do a bunch of things and make some choices on how you interact with that moment. And I feel like that happens a lot in the sequel trilogy, and it almost never happens in any of the other ones, which they talked about in the trailer like it was going to be in the game more, but it really was mostly only in the sequel trilogy, which I thought was very weird. And I really liked those moments like a lot. Like I like that moment on in episode 9 where you're like you could stealth around and actually like take people out and choose how you want to interact with it. And there's a few of those moments. Even the one in episode 8 when you can go undercover and all that. Like that was actually really fun and
Yeah,
really
the
cool.
uh
Uh
the
it was
disguise system is
it's weird.
it's weird, but it's cool. I don't
It's
I
fun.
don't
It's cool
I,
how they did it, but
I don't
yeah,
hate
it's
it.
not.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right.
It's cool because like some moments it actually can change what happens in a sense. Like if you actually do get a disguise earlier than you think you should, you can actually do certain things that you wouldn't have been able to do if you went in a different way. So it's cool sometimes how like a few missions of the game I can't. I mean the one I can name off was just that one from 9 mainly and episode 8, but those were really cool moments. I like that. That was a new. I guess that's going back to gameplay. Those were really cool moments. Like I actually, that's probably the most interactive and cool moments of most of the gameplay, other than bosses for me too. I like the bosses, other than the camera thing. I know I'm going off topic badly
No,
here,
you're
but
good.
I
All
just
right.
thought I keep forgetting that I need to bring up those points. But yeah, so I
All
mean,
right.
I think the story was really good, and the comedy nailed it a lot of the times, in my opinion. So it was really good.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the wrap up here. Enjoyability and our individual opinion, in which I am going to go first, and I'll put my own personal score on it. You being the lead reviewer, your score is what we're going to post to the website and everything like that. Um, my final overall thoughts on the game are, I think I've stated before, there's a cap for me when it comes to Lego games. Um, I've played a lot of them, and it's just there's just something about them that don't ever fully click with me. Does I can't ever fully wrap my mind around it and grasp everything that it is. Um okay, well that's a bad statement. I understand what they are. They're very easy to understand, but I just can't fully like send myself into the enjoyment of a Lego game. However, those of you out there who love Lego games, who like Lego games, this is 100% a recommendation from me personally. You're going to love this game. I think it's the best Lego's ever been. Now, so again, saying that, there is a cap on that, but I think this is a fantastic Lego game, a good a retelling of the Star Wars story. It has all the negatives, in my opinion, that I've always had with Lego games, and those are flat across the board, and I don't think this game does too much to rectify that. It tries a lot and succeeds in some things. But overall, I think again, this is the best it's ever been. Maybe the best Lego's ever going to be. And with that, it is what it is. With that final, with a cap of, I don't think anything ever gets better than maybe an 8.5, 8.5 for Lego games. I am gonna give this game an 8 out of 10. I think it is a great video game that is just shy of being perfect for a Lego game.
Okay. All right. Um.
What the hell is so funny?
All right. No, no, no. I just said okay. My nose is
Oh,
kind of
okay.
going all over the
Thought you
place.
trying
So
to
I
make
wasn't trying to make. I was
thought you
laughing.
were making fun of me. I was about to drive my ass to
Yeah.
St. Louis.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go through the scores all of my thing real quick because I just want to do that to make it easier to make it understandable why I came to my final score, and then I'll have my overall thoughts and what I really feel about the game. I gave visuals 5 out of 5. I gave sound 5 out of 5. Gameplay 4 out of 5. The story and narrative 4 out of 5. Enjoyability and opinion I gave 4 out of 5. And that equaled up to an 8.8 out of 10, which is great and earns the gold trophy on our standards.
Well, okay.
Um,
What is it? What is your are you gonna give it an
oh
eight
yeah, I'm
point
gonna get to my
five?
overall opinion now.
Okay, I was gonna
But
say like if you're gonna give it an 8.5 or a 9, or like which one are you gonna go with? Because you remember when we said when it hits those, when you do the math and it gets to the
yeah,
end,
well,
then
we'll do
decide which way to go.
8.5 probably
Okay,
just to go to that. So 8.5. So I think that still equals up the gold trophy,
it is.
and
Yeah,
it's
it did.
still
It,
great.
it,
Yeah.
it, it didn't matter for the trophy, but okay.
Okay.
Anyway, congratulations,
So
Lego Star Wars. You are the recipient of our first ever gold trophy here at the Experience Point. Thank you for existing.
and I have my final thoughts on it basically real quick.
Did you just give me final
Um,
thoughts?
what?
Did you just give your final thoughts?
No, no, I was just giving my scores. I was gonna
Oh,
give my overall thoughts at the end.
well, that's a
I just
confusing
wanted to
ass way to
basic.
do it.
It was sorry, yeah. Well, okay. Well, my overall thoughts of this game, just to end it off after saying the score, was the game is great with tons of great jokes, epic Star Wars moments, even with its flaws. This is easily one of the greatest Star Wars games ever made. Though, from the outside perspective, the game might seem like an average Lego game, there is much more to it. And that's how I feel about it. I think it's really good. I think it's probably the best Lego game to ever come out. It's really fun, really enjoyable, even with its flaws. I don't think even some of the flaws I was saying are that major to the point where I would bring it down, but it definitely has its flaws, and it was close to being what we would say is awesome. So it was in the great category, and I definitely 110% recommend this game. It's a really good Star Wars game. If you like Star Wars for what it is a huge fan made, fun journey and adventure throughout all the Star Wars movies and messing with a bunch of different characters and having fun with it. So, yeah, that's the end of it. And yeah,
That is the end of it. All right.
yeah. Gosh.
All right, for those of you that have been listening out there, if you enjoyed this content, please go to our YouTube channel, watch our other shows. We produce a weekly video game and news pop culture podcast along with our Patreon shows that we produce for you. If you like this review, please go over there, give us a like, give us a listen to, give us a watch, whatever you want to do. Please support us so we can keep doing the things that we want to do, which is talk about video games, movies, and pop culture. Logan, any last thoughts?
Um, as always, thank you guys for listening, and soon we should have some more reviews out. Next one, I believe, is going to be Elden Ring. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later.
If I can ever get
And
on producing the Horizon one.
yeah, I would like to listen to that.
I'll figure
Hopefully,
it out.
hopefully that pops up soon. But
All right.
yeah, again, thanks for listening. Hope you guys are all having a great day. And as always, if you'd like to tell us about your thoughts down below and what you think, how the new Lego Star Wars is, as always, comment below. We'll talk right back. So yeah,
All
see you
right.
guys.
And with that, hope everyone has a great week. New episode coming out Tuesday. Hope everyone listens to that, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See you guys.
See ya.